Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Burn This Podcast. My name is Brandie Posey, the host of the podcast and the owner of Burn This Records. Happy spooky season! What are you going to be for Halloween? Maybe a person that actually buys comedy albums. What if that was your costume? How fun would that be? You're hearing from me now, which means I have a new album for you. This one is from John Michael Bond. John is a comic that I've known, oh my God, since I started basically, from Chattanooga, Tennessee originally. I've toured with John Michael more than anybody else in comedy. He's one of my best friends. And yeah, he made this album. It's amazing. It's called Cry Uncle, and you're going to enjoy it almost as much as you enjoy my conversation with John Michael Bond.
We don't need no water, let the motherfucker burn.
This podcast. I have, I'll show them to me afterwards. I have a small skeleton that's part of a Halloween collection of things. And he sings and dances. And I did a Zoom show. And I brought him in and I played him into the microphone, but they couldn't pick him up. So I was just playing a silent dancing skeleton into the microphone.
I love that you have every size of skeleton. But you're like, oh no, the big skeleton, that's just business.
Yeah.
That's more of the brand skeleton.
Yeah, that's the brand skeleton. I mean, it didn't start out that way, but it's kind of happened that way.
Yeah. Have you picked up fans from the giant skeleton groups?
I'm pretty sure I have.
Have you earned their trust? Do they not believe you're making fun of them?
I don't know if I've picked up fans so much as I've gotten people to be fans of the Facebook group.
Got it.
That I think has happened like more than the other way around.
I thought you were going to Fast and Furious it, and you're like, I don't have fans, I have family now.
I wish. No, there is the thing that's happened a lot this year that has not happened before.
Yeah.
Is a lot of 12-foot skeleton owners are MAGA, and there's a lot of. It makes sense when you really think about it.
The punk rock part of you that loves the giant skeleton is the punk rock part that comes up to the edge of libertarianism.
Yes.
Where you suddenly care about other people's rights.
Yes.
There is something very like, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me about even the existence of the giant skeleton.
Oh, of course. It's what is it? It's 12-foot skeleton theory instead of a horseshoe theory.
Absolutely.
Is what happens here. Yeah.
Someone's like, we need to invent something homeowners associations have never thought of.
Yeah.
So there's no rules against it yet.
I like what you've done immediately on the podcast episode that's supposed to be about you, is you started talking about one of my bits, and I was like, well, no, we will talk about it, though. This is going to be fun because I get to make you uncomfortable by making it about you for an hour.
Yeah, it's difficult.
How's your day? How are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. I'm a little hoarse right now. I went and saw Charlie Bliss on Monday.
Oh, how was that?
It was fabulous.
Yeah?
It was just a big, goofy pop show where everybody's bouncing up and down and singing and losing their voice.
That's fine.
Haven't gotten to do that in a minute, so it's been real good.
Hell yeah.
I finished up the video edit of my special. Mm-hmm. I've reached the end of DIY.
Yeah. There is an end, and we should all embrace the end.
Yeah. I recorded everything myself. I edited everything myself. I taught myself how to do video editing, color correction, a good chunk of the sound design, how to make credits. I put together all the art and then like gave it to my wife to paint. I hope to never do it to myself again. Yeah.
No, totally. And can I just say thank you for letting me step in and then helping you from not just...
So good.
Yeah, this way I saved you from spreadsheets, and I'm glad I could save you from spreadsheets, which you probably are actually pretty good at. I bet you're decent.
I'm not. So my day job is typically writing like SEO stuff.
Yeah.
And now I'm an editor of SEO stuff. And honestly, the hardest thing for me is learning how to do Google Sheets in a way that makes sense to other people.
Oh.
Because if you work from home alone for like a decade, you have very efficient workflows
Only
that
for
seem feral to everyone else.
Yes.
You know, you can't use shorthand anymore. Or you can, but you have to change it so it doesn't have like shorthand for profanity for people you're mad at, you know?
No, exactly. I like how many people have been working from home for so long that whenever we die, and our families, I guess, have to go through our things, they won't know what our computer is full of.
Oh, yeah.
And that's great, which is great because I feel like there has always been a fear of like, oh God, my footprint, the things in my house, whatever. But it's like, you won't know how to get around my computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, hide my porn so my mom doesn't find it. Whose mom is good at finding hard drives. Like,
Imagine being your mom being like, I know it's on there. I gotta keep looking for it. I will find it.
it's also a very like millennially coded joke that you,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
even then that just required that you had downloaded some.
Yeah.
Like anyone who has a physical copy anymore, you know?
What a psycho. Oh my God. You have a great joke on the album about your first porn was like romance novels and going onto literotica websites.
Yeah, we would. My mom is a thrifter, an antiques maven, we'll say.
Mm-hmm.
We have load bearing wicker baskets of the family. You know, where
Yeah.
there's this thing I think where people are like, oh, my parents are gonna pass away. And the thing I'm not prepared for is them giving me, like, inheriting a bunch of old china, shit like that. So I know specifically what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
I wasted a lot of Saturdays with it. But the nice thing about that, there's always like a used book section that has no sorting to it. So I would go look for the Stephen King novels, and then there would just be like bodice rippers with like Fabio and just like some half naked woman on it. And I'd look at them both and be like, these are two beautiful women. And I need to know about who this is. And I would just like steal them.
Yeah, of course. I feel like erotica is meant to be stolen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't steal at least once, do you have passion in your heart? You know?
That's the question. Yeah.
And then once, eventually, my dad literally did find a giant stack of them under my bed and stole them from me. I consider it theft. He owes me. They're probably vintage and worth money now. So I went online and I was like, free romance stories.
Yeah.
And I found online erotic stories. And what I found was there's no editing and there's no standards and practices.
Yes.
And you're just like, oh, this is romance under the full moon. That sounds nice. And you're like, oh, this person's fucking a werewolf now.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
yeah.
This is, in college, me and my friends, what we used to do is we would look up erotica for our friends' favorite TV shows, and then we would replace their name and print it out and put it all over their doors.
Oh,
so people would be like, "Oh, you're getting butt fucked by Spock." Hell yeah!
It's not on the album, so this is a B-side, I guess.
Yeah.
When I moved to Atlanta in my mid-20s, I got a job working as an audio engineer at a recording studio that did audiobooks. And the first day they were like, does anything bother you? And I was like, no, I'm pretty strong stomach. I can handle it. They're like, you're going to be doing an erotic novel. And I was like, that's okay. And they were like, it's called Night of the Cougar. And I was like, old hat, I can do this.
Yeah.
We get to the first sex scene, and it's about this sexy reporter lady who goes into the mountains to meet a park ranger who's been hidden for 3 years. And he's like, I don't think you would appreciate me at night. And like, I'm like, okay, there's going to be a werewolf plot to this. And he's like, I need you to tie me down. So she like ties him down. And then the full moon hits and he turns into a were-cougar.
Oh, that's the cougar.
Which, incredible spin.
Yeah. Didn't see that coming.
And horrific, because then they started the sex scene.
Oh, no.
And there's like his sandpaper tongue. And I was like, you know what, guys? I think I did find the one place I have a barrier. You know?
Yeah, no, totally. I'm like, I don't need the cat details. And then afterwards, he shit in a giant thing of sand. They kicked it on top of it. The hairball that came from her pussy hair at the end. No one wants that.
I don't know. I think the thing that attracts me to erotica is the same thing that attracts me to punk rock.
Yeah.
Is like there's Green Day.
Yeah.
And then there's Jimmy Shits and the Weird Burgers or whatever. And like they're both valid.
Yeah.
And they're both doing something similar to the same thing. But the guy over in the basement is writing something absolutely insane.
Oh, yeah.
And like there's something beautiful about that. Like there's gatekeepers in every industry, except kind of like comedy, porn, and photography, I feel like a lot of the time.
No, yeah, for sure. Like you can still just be making whatever. And the internet has democratized so much of that that you can kind of just be like, well, you might not make a living off of it.
Yeah.
But you can force it upon people.
But you might be surprised you can make a living.
Yeah.
Off of it.
Yeah, the niche market of a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there's always something deeply passionate about it. And I think that the thing that like attracts me to comedy and like punk and erotica always is just the idea of a guy being like, I'm gonna go make this.
Yeah.
Or a woman at home who's like, sometimes they'll have like artist bios and you're like, who is this person? It's like, every day when my kids go to school, I have 4 hours to myself to imagine the life where they don't exist.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy shit, what are you writing about? And it's a horny banker. And it's like, what?
Yeah, no, the inner world of those people. It's like, I'm really fascinated. So for the listener, like we've toured across country. I think I've toured with you probably more than anybody else, I'm pretty sure.
You're definitely the person I've toured the most with.
Yeah. And it's so funny because like I'm really obsessed with the people that like run a tiny weird stand in the middle of nowhere and are like extremely locally famous for their weird thing.
Yeah.
That's my favorite shit in the world because I'm like, the being compelled to do this is, there's something really beautiful about that. Being like, witness my true self.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the thing that I like touring with you about is like when you listen to my record, I should have called it "I Have Demons." I got demons. That's fine. I like mini comics. Used to party a lot.
Yeah.
When I tour with you, I have no compulsion to party because I am partying by doing the kind of weird tourist shit that I would do like if I was with my family.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, all right, well, I can get house tonight, but I can't because tomorrow we got the world's largest ball of barbed wire.
Exactly.
We gotta go see that, you know?
No, we gotta see it because one day it's not gonna be there. And what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Be an uncle and not say that you saw the world's largest ball of barbed wire to your kids someday? That's
Right?
an uncle fact.
Here's the thing about therapy. I learned about a thing called regulation, and it's the idea that when you have panic or you experience anxiety, it's not actually what's happening in the moment that's fucking with you. It's something that happened in the past, and your body is having a physical reaction to that. And I think that things are bad enough for me to be panicked now. Here's the problem. I'm 39 years old. I don't get compliments anymore that feel like compliments. If you're a 39-year-old man, the compliments you get are always very backhanded. It's like, you look good for your age. Like, go to hell, you know? But the worst one I ever got, I was talking to a guy at a bar. I was watching the NBA playoffs. We had talked zero in 30 minutes. He said nothing to me. Then he reaches over and he taps me on the shoulder. And he's like, hey, man, can I ask you a question? I'm like, yeah, what's up? And he said, you're an uncle, right? Think about that for just that's a subtly fucking mean thing to say to a person. That was a guy looking at me and being like, hey, you look like your brother fucks. And he does. I have two beautiful nephews. He lays it down. I understand what he meant. What he meant is I look like men who aren't doing great right now. Okay? Like, that's okay. I'm what happens when you set the economy on fire every 5 years since the 80s. Okay? You end up with a bunch of guys who look like what your Tony Hawk Creative character would be doing right now. All right? Their best, you know? I don't know if I'm gonna have kids. I've had a laptop on my junk for 18 hours a day for 20 years. Like, who knows if this works? But if I'm not gonna be a father, maybe I could be like the world's uncle, you know? Like, I could lean into that. I have a lot of uncle tendencies that are useful in survival situations. After the show, if we went to a gas station, I looked at the hot dog rollers. Just from sight, I could tell you what the safe dogs are to eat. Yeah. That's my spiritual gift. That's I say shit like I miss drug dealers. Does that resonate? I know that Delta 8 is legal here, which is like being cock-blocked by weed, but like it's like when your dad's like, I'm gonna drink now, but it's only Michelob Ultra, you know? You're like, oh no, that's not fun. I live in California, though, where weed is decriminalized, and the hubris has gotten out of control. My friends are like, oh, man, I'm so glad I don't have to have a drug dealer anymore. And I'm like, oh, yeah, what do you miss? Like, what's the thing you hated about drug dealers? You know, you'd go over to their house, they'd make you smoke some weed with them, they'd put on a movie, they'd let you hold their snake. Like, I don't know if anyone else is lonely, but doesn't that sound like a nice Thursday? You know, like... That was a bro, you know? Here's a true story. I had a drug dealer in Atlanta who once was late because he took his guys out to a ropes course. That's wholesome, okay? Like, I had another drug dealer in Atlanta who invited me to a surprise wedding. Yeah. I want to be clear. He didn't, like, kidnap a woman and get us all implicated. That's not what happened. He had his wife and his fiance and him had been dating for a long time. She's like, I don't know when I want to set a date. I'm too indecisive. I just wish it would happen for me. So he called all of his friends and he said, put on your nicest clothes. We're going to put on these masquerade masks. We're going to have a party. And I was like, I need to be clear. Is it an orgy? And he went, not an orgy. But fair question. Very fair question. And we all showed up in our dress clothes, put on masks. And then the door opened and his fiance walked in wearing a beautiful dress and a blindfold. And then she took it off, said, why is my dad here? And the wedding march started playing. Do you know what my dispensary has? Taxes. Far worse, okay? There's no whimsy at my dispensary. That is, I think, part of the thing that got me into like physical photography.
Yeah.
I am an uncle philosophically, and I think biologically, I've real nephews. I didn't make those up for the bit.
They're beside the point, though. It's
very
like in your
cute.
heart, you're an uncle. With or without them, you're an
Before they
uncle.
were gone, before they existed, I was already kind of leaning into, I think, this kind of uncle thing. And like, I think the reality is, with economic collapse, that slow motion happens. You have fewer and fewer opportunities. Traditionally, a lot of people I know who have kids are oops kids.
Yeah.
And like they'll never say that out loud, but they will say that to their friends, and their friends know. Like I know. Yeah. I know which Zachary's an oops. I know.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know who is like, you know what? I don't believe in God, but I'm still Catholic here. There's that. I realized pretty young that I probably wasn't gonna have kids. But I love other people's kids. Yeah. And I love those conversations that happen when you're just like, hey, man, your dad doesn't want me to tell you this, but that used to be a brothel and now it's a mine. Like seeing those things. And I think when you tour, your natural inclination is to do two things. One, go to the show and go back to the hotel. Yeah. Which is one subsect of comedy that I find
a lot of people love to do that.
Deeply boring.
Yeah. Just sit with your wet towels in a Holiday Inn.
I'm like, oh man, I want to watch American Pickers again.
Yeah,
no. I know. Or number two, you do the show, it pays you whatever it pays you, but you're in a place you would never be before. Yeah. And like, I think that it's beautiful to walk around and be like, hey, what's haunted? Yes. Oh yeah. That's the best shit. I had in Pittsburgh. On this run, I got a hotel. My wife flew in for the last week before I recorded. And we were at this old hotel. It used to be a monastery. And I went to the bar and I had a show and then I was picking her up at midnight and I was just like, all right, I'm going to have like a beer and then go meet up with a show. I talked to the bartender. I was like, so do people think this place is haunted? And he was like, well, what do you mean by that question? And I was like, what? Okay, I'm intrigued. Okay.
Are you a ghost?
He's like, well, like, do you believe... Are you asking like from a Christian perspective? Are you asking from a skeptic's perspective where you want to make fun of the idea? What do you think? And I ended up having an 1.5 hour long conversation with this guy about the metaphysical understanding of what a ghost could be. Yep. What it means energy wise, what you put out in the world versus what you take back. And whether or not ghosts are just the static memories of people we loved in the past and the things that they do now sometimes will come back and impact us later. And like 2 nights later, I'm on the phone, on like a Zoom call with my 6-year-old nephew, telling him that story, and he's like, "What's death?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I can't do this."
Oh yeah. Death should be broken to you by an aunt or an uncle. I think that is where it should come from.
Absolutely, it should come as a surprise or like a pet, maybe. But I think that's the stuff that I'm like. I want to travel and I want to see things and I want to have those stories. Yeah, but also I think like. You part of like the kind of uncle mentality that I have is that like I think every family should have a black sheep. Yeah, absolutely. Whether you choose that or not, you are. And like you can choose to be bitter about that, where you don't necessarily fit in everywhere else, or you could choose to be kind of the reporter of the universe to everyone else.
Yeah, and I think that is the defense of the black sheep. Yeah. Like I think the black sheep is necessary because it is like it provides, it's like the doppelganger to the other way. It's like good to have a different path to also show future generations, it doesn't need to just be the way my parents are. You can also just like go around the country and talk to bartenders about ghosts. Right. And that's a valid life.
Like there's a bit on the record about buying R-rated movie tickets for teenagers. And I have an aside in it where I was like, people get real uptight about that, but like, in the 70s, I would be buying those kids beer. Yeah. And like, I think there's something that's true about that. Like, I think like we do fest a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Like there's this thing that's like, as we've done fest for like a decade, we go back and we see the same people. There's almost that like, I get older, they stay the same age. Yeah. No, we're all fucking getting older.
We're all getting older.
We're all getting so much older.
The kids aren't coming. So
right. And it's interesting because I see people that I've known for a decade who don't have these typical signifiers of like what success is or what you're building towards. And like they have monetary success or they have more security than they had, but they don't have like a family. Yeah. And like they view that as like a negative. And it's like, well, look at the world around you. There are people everywhere who need interaction. There are people everywhere who are looking for softness and conversation. And like the bartender and I like hugged at the end of like we both teared up, had a very in-depth, beautiful conversation. And then later that night, the guy who threw the show, Shannon, who's putting out something on the
yeah, Shannon Norman, you'll hear from him next year.
Shannon trimmed my edges. I'd never had. I have long hair right now.
Yeah.
No one ever done my split ends. I had that, a show at a barbershop, and my split ends done all within 3 hours, and then picked my wife up at the airport. That is a chaotic life, but it's also really fun.
Yeah.
And like, I think you should encourage people to see the beauty in the chaos of their existence.
No, I think so too. And like, that's so fulfilling and nice. And like, I mean, touring has like made me, I think I was always a pretty empathetic person in general, but touring and meeting people of all different stripes all over the country and having experiences like that are just like for the sake of having them.
Yeah.
Has made me a much more empathetic person than ever before, for sure. Absolutely. Like I'm always like, I always think like Billy Wayne Davis has this funny tweet where like when Trump won in 2016, he just tweeted and everyone was freaking out. And he goes, "Thought y'all said you did the road." And I think about it all the time because it's true. But it's like I also have gotten so much empathy because you go through these towns, you go through these places, and you're like, yeah, I understand how and why. I don't agree, but I also see how this happened.
Yeah.
And I also get it to a degree.
Yeah. I would say the most uncle thing about me right now is that I buy R-rated movie tickets for kids I do not know. Okay. Thank you. Okay, you guys can recognize a hero, but a lot of people in this country have gotten real tight about that joke, and I don't get it because, like, in the 70s, I would have been buying those guys beer, you know? Like, now I'm sharing art, you know? It's only backfired one time. That was in Denver, Colorado last year. I was on tour. I said, fuck it, I'm going to the movies. Went to the movies by myself. I'm standing in line. I'm playing Words with Friends, just having a nice evening. I glance up. I see 2 teenagers in front of me. I'm like, oh, that's sweet. They're on a date. Go back to my phone. Get up to the little kiosk. Don't even look up. I'm like, I want one for Terrifier 2. I want to watch a clown eat some fools, you know? And I heard the worst thing that I can ever hear, which is, I'm going to need to see some identification. No, the fuck you don't. You guys can see my body, all right? If this is the body of a 15-year-old boy, that's a 15-year-old boy who's about to die, okay? Like, let that kid see whatever movie he wants to see in a short window. And I look up, horrified, and he's not talking to me. It's the guy next to me talking to the teenagers I saw earlier. And I, without missing a beat, was like, oh, don't worry about it. They can see that movie. They're my kids. And everybody stopped talking. I was like, what the hell did I miss? And I looked over and I was like, oh, those are 2 Guatemalan teenagers. Yeah. But also, like, it's 2023. You don't know who the hell I could pull, you racist. You know, like, maybe their mom has a dominant trait and a fetish for whatever the hell's happening here, you know? Like, so I, like, leaned in. I got kind of aggressive. I was like, yeah, those are my kids. What of it? And he went, you mean to tell me they're your biological children? I was like, what am I missing? And then I remembered when I looked up, it was like, oh, those kids were on a date. Those teenagers had been furiously making out with each other in line. And I'm apparently their dad behind them going, good job, kids. You know? In that moment, none of us are doing our best, okay? like those kids could have gone and just seen a PG-13 movie, but they're looking for me for answers like, Papa, what do we do? And then those kids go, yeah, he's our dad. What the fuck? Like, have you ever wanted to see a movie so bad you leaned into incest? Not me. I came clean, like, real quick. I was like, all right, I need to stop this shit. I need to stop this. I am not their biological father. I'm their stepdad, though. They're definitely related, yeah? I'm not going to tell another man how to raise his kids, guys. That's not who I am.
Yeah.
I remember the first road thing I ever did for comedy. We did this show in Kansas City, Missouri, and it was not promoted. Like, we got there in the venue, didn't know it was happening.
Yeah.
But the guy who booked it for us was positive they were going to let us show the documentary he was in. It was surreal. But the Mexican restaurant was like, we have a karaoke machine.
That's great.
If you guys do like no F-bombs, you can do your sets. And then we went up and did F-bombs. We
Yeah,
were
of
horrible.
course.
Because we just didn't know how not to cuss, and it was whatever. And we did our set for a horrified room of families, like people in Kansas City, Missouri. It was everyone was white at this Mexican restaurant, including the kitchen. Like it was Kansas City. It was very weird.
Oh man!
And then they gave us free burritos as payment.
Yeah.
And we were just sitting there disillusioned.
Yep.
And like this guy came up in a cowboy shirt and a cowboy hat, which I didn't think they had in Kansas City, and like looked at us and said, I didn't agree with anything you boys said up there, but at least you're trying something, and gave us each $20.
Yeah, and $20 when you only got a burrito,
Right?
A king's ransom.
But it's also like, okay, cool. Now I've got this. I'm like, who am I going to tell this story to? I want to pass that on to my kids. And I'm like, I've told that to 100 people.
Yeah.
I've told that to people who are on tour, who are like, there's no hope. And it's like, this crowd's going to hate me. I'm like, they may hate you, but that guy over there might secretly love you.
Yeah.
You might have this connection that's going to change the way you interact with people and your fucking, like, your friends and just the way you, like, approach every situation if you're willing to do it.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of that, we pulled it together and had gas. So it worked.
Totally. Well, and it's always interesting to me when people like don't like want those interactions as a stand-up, where I'm like, wait, what are you in it for? Because like meeting people and having like those weird experiences like has over time has become so much more interesting to me.
Yeah.
That I'm just like, no, this is I feel like I'm just a cataloger of weirdos around the country, and I say that with love.
Yeah.
And it's nice. It's like I wouldn't just go back to a hotel room after a show and just not interact with anybody other than the owner of the venue.
Right.
Kill myself.
Well, it's like I love one of the reasons I love touring with you is like I love having a beer with people.
Yeah.
But also like I really did learn touring with you of like what it's like to listen to someone when you're not drinking together.
Yeah.
And like staying on their level, and that like changed the way I interact with a lot of people. I'll still get drunk after a show sometimes. But
Yeah.
I don't party as much on the road just because I learned to be able to appreciate stuff. I think also like one of the things that's like probably one of the reasons I even put this stupid thing together and why it's called Cry Uncle is I've been working really hard on fighting the image that I have both in the world and also I feel like a lot of dudes that relate to me.
Okay.
Which is just like I think that the life is really hard. The economy sucks. Family sucks.
Yeah.
Like I have an amazing family, and family is still hard.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I think it's really easy in this world. I think the part of the weird, like that guy used to be punk and now he's MAGA thing that we've experienced is people forget to laugh at stuff that's annoying to them.
Yeah.
They just get mad about it. And like something I'm really proud of with this record is that for like a heavily tattooed, like bearded white guy with long hair and an angry looking face, it's not an angry record in any capacity. I took everything that annoyed me and just like psychologically for a year, anything that pissed me off or bothered me, I tried to find the beauty in. And some of the bits that are on here are just kind of reflections of that. And like, it's me going like, all right, well, why does someone want to know this stuff? And like, it's funny because I still take very negative turns sometimes. I've got a bit on there about astrology and my wife being an astrology person.
Yeah.
And, like her trying to share it with me. And it's just a bit about me being annoyed by astrology because I'm not interacting with it, and then how annoyed she gets when I start interacting with it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's part of the thing is like, I think that I worked really, really hard on it to find this middle ground where the stuff that should bother me or should annoy me, I try to find the beauty in. The kind of inciting incident of the whole record is a guy at a bar looking at me and going like, "You're an uncle, right?"
Yeah.
Which broke me. It's the mean. I do roast battle. I've had people say, great comic Carmen Morales at a roast battle said, I look like I make mixtapes for the guys who fuck my wife. Like people have said,
oh man, damn, Carmen, that's
like,
awesome.
brutal things to me in roast battles and stuff. And nothing has hurt more than that guy kindly being like, "You're an uncle, right?"
Yeah.
But also like, in that dark moment of the soul.
Yeah.
I had like this kind of revelation about like, well, why does he think that? And what about my energy is like in that? And I think like there is true. I do look like guys who aren't doing good right now. And if people can recognize that visually, I have a responsibility to other people like myself or other people who've been impacted by people like myself to show an opposite side of that.
No, and I think it's like, number one, thank you for, making this album. Because I think it's really important for like, especially with like the state of where comedy's at currently, because we see like there is such a weird alt-right pull.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important for there to be to maintain the third lane of just like good comics who are like decent people trying to be their best selves as much as you fucking can without being perfect. And there's a lot of good white dudes in that lane for me. I fucking love them. And you're one of them. And you're a person that deserves to be celebrated because
I should have called this one of the good ones.
Well, there's a few albums I put out this year that could fall into that category. Maybe I'll do the good ones compilation at the end of this. We'll see.
I do believe in God despite everything I've just said. I believe in astrology. Thank you. And, I don't know. Like I believe in astrology because my wife believes in astrology. Why not? I believed in Jesus Christ for my dad for 32 years. Like that guy never gave me roadhead, not once. It would be a point of contention. I'm not. I don't understand why straight men hate astrology. All right, if you date women who love astrology, astrology is the greatest thing that ever happened to your dating life because astrology is just a woman gaslighting herself about why you are you. Okay, like, yeah. It's like, oh yeah, you're not an alcoholic who won't work on his anger. You're a Cancer sun, an Aries moon, and a Cancer rising. You know, like, I'd love to be a better man. The stars say I'm a son of a bitch. You know, the best part about astrology to me is listening to it. Because, like, if you listen to what she says, you can win arguments real fast, okay? Right before I left on tour, she's like, honey, I'm a little worried. You be coming home 1 a.m, drunk from your shows, smelling like cigarettes? I don't think you're doing your best right now. And I said, Mercury is in retrograde. None of us are at our best right now. And she's like, you're not allowed to use it like that, you know? And I'm like, I'm not going to get in trouble for listening, all right? You're being very Leo right now, all right?
Because I've toured with you for so long, I've like seen your growth in all these ways. And like, it's really, and like you've always been a good dude who's like trying to do the best, do your best. It seems like. You know, from the outside.
Well, so, I mean, like one of the things that I appreciate about like getting to tour with people is they get to see who you are.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I've been friends with you for so long that you and I have had like a 4-hour conversation in the middle of Texas where I'm trying to convince my wife not to get a seashell tattoo on her stomach. And I'm
between her tits. It was between her tits.
Yeah, right. And I was just like, I promise you're not going to want that in 10 years. And that's like, there are these moments when you're on the road with people where you like. It's very funny for me. It's like there have definitely been times where I got drunk and popped off and got punched in the mouth or something.
Yeah.
And like it's never on tour with people. The things that people actually see where I'm like, oh no, do I have anything cancelable in the past? I'm like, oh no, I usually am around someone who reminds me to be a better person. And I think there's like something about like choosing your peers.
Yeah.
And choosing the people that you want to like be around and like thinking about that. And like one of the things that I thought about with a lot of these jokes and the ones that I chose to tell and the ones I chose not to tell are who do I want my peers to be? And also like, if I'm lucky enough and this gets on like XM or something, who's in that middle ground where, both parties are too similar and they're like, well, I'm on this weird knife's edge of libertarianism. Which version do I go? I like the idea that there are people out there who are going to hear it. And because I know I've met them on the road who were like, hey man, like, thanks. I didn't think about that perspective. Or like, I thought you were a socialist. I am. But like you had this empathy thing and it's like, that's cool. But then you talked about serial killers and I was like, oh, you're not like a coward.
Yeah.
Like,
no, exactly. It's like, it's where like the quote unquote dirtbag left or whatever is so important, I think, because it is this like showing that there is like, you can still be fun and have a good time. And like care about other people.
Sure. Well, that's I think the stuff that I tried to pull from on it is I feel like if you just look at it in the titles, you'll be like, oh, Ted Bundy is nuanced.
Yeah.
You're like, that's going to be a dark misogynistic bit. And it's not. It's about what happens when a serial killer works at a suicide hotline, which is a true thing that Ted Bundy did when he was in college. And the worst part is he was very good at what he did. He was fantastic at it. But there's so many, like, I feel like there's so much like true crime stuff where people are talking about it and they're like kind of almost glamorizing what happened, or they're not talking about the the truly interesting part of a serial killer is everything except the murder.
Yes.
What did that guy have for lunch is an infinitely more interesting question, unless it's Dahmer.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Tuna melt or tuna fish? What are we going here?
Like, John Wayne Gacy was a birthday clown and a Republican political figure. Like, that stuff is infinitely more interesting. And like, I think when we look at negativity, I have manic depression. I've got I've got a lot of religious trauma and shit in my brain. I think there are things that like I've worked really hard on in my life to get over. And if I tell a joke, I never want anyone to leave bummed.
Yeah.
I want people to like, if I talk about something dark, and I talk about a lot of dark shit just because it's, sometimes what's in my brain, I never want my dark stuff to dim the room.
Yeah.
I find it more interesting to write about dark shit from the perspective of like how happy it can be,
Do you feel like that has like impacted your mental health for good by training yourself to try to find that thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes it more fun to do shows.
Yeah.
I was very shocking when I started because I was a dude in a scene with no women in it.
Yeah.
And just also it's like what you know how to get a shock joke. And I was like, well, fucked up things have happened to me, so I can write about fucked up things and just let the fucked up thing be the punchline. And what's interesting about that is my parents came to all the shows because they lived in the same town and they were very supportive.
Yeah.
So they would be like, well, that was wow.
Did they find out anything through your stand-up that they didn't know before?
I'm 99% sure that they didn't know that. There's a bit on the record about a lifeguard trying to molest me. It's not dark if you're worried about that.
No, it's not.
No trigger warning needed. I don't think they knew about my participation in that story because it happened to my older brother too. And he told them. I never said shit.
Same lifeguard or different lifeguard?
Same lifeguard.
Okay. Damn. Okay. Didn't get his floaty taken away from him after the first bond.
Right?
Okay.
Well, I'm not a snitch like my brother. So like, they've learned some stuff like that. There's a lot of, the record's very dirty at times, though it's I would say it's almost Catholic dirt.
Yeah, it's dirty with heart, I think.
I have a lot of sex jokes and they're all about my wife, which is, it's not like I was hooking up with this girl. Like even the sexual stuff in this is me trying to like fight against my least favorite comedy trope, which is the hero comic and his bitch wife.
Yes.
I hate that so much.
Yeah.
And
awful.
like, I've been with my wife since we were 17 and 16.
So yeah.
I'm 40 now. So like, we've been together for 22 years. And like the thing that is really easy is to write jokes about how she sucks because I'm the only perspective that's in them.
Yeah.
And like, I think that there's this like, I wanted to write dirty stuff about absolutely worshiping and loving this one person.
Yes. Yeah.
And like, also acknowledging something that I feel like is at the root of I Hate My Wife comedy, which is that long-term relationships are fucking hard.
Yeah.
Maintaining intimacy over a long period of time.
Yes.
And keeping like, not just keeping it fresh, but keeping it alive. Like the reason they call it a spark is because it goes out in a minute. And like, if you don't use that spark to build fire, you're not going to have anything. And like the dirty jokes on this record is there's like this chunk of like, things that we've tried to do to spice things up, and very specifically things she has initiated or tried to do to spice things up. And like, I want there to be more material in comedy about how marriage is hard and that's the funniest fucking part of it.
Yeah.
Like there's the trilogy is there's her asking me what my fantasies are, her getting a kit to make a sex toy for Valentine's Day.
Yep.
And then us taking Molly and having an inopportune experience because of it.
Yeah.
And like all three of them approach very different elements of like what healthy communication is in a relationship. It's like having these difficult conversations about like what turns you on, and even if I'm not comfortable with it, tell me what it is.
Yeah.
Or like, I want to spice. You've said you want me to spice things up.
Yes.
I've now asked to spice things up in a way that you are not prepared for.
Yeah.
I think that men should know cautionary tales of their wife listening.
Yeah. No, absolutely. To be like, well, that's what you fucking wanted. All right. I like that you guys both are like, you guys are so cute because you're both just like two Gomez Adams vaping at each other is like your marriage. That's how I feel like that's how I describe your marriage.
Man. If I may actually grease paint on a little Gomez mustache on her tonight. That sounds kind of hot.
See, good. I'm glad I could help.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing I think is like, I feel like for men, you're going to hear it. And I apologize for the hetero-coded nature of this. Like, my wife and I are both bi.
Yeah.
But I'm not focusing on that for this one. But like, I feel like specifically in heterosexual relationships, there's this really toxic element of you have to do it right.
Yes.
And like marriage and romance, like the beauty of it is doing it wrong and seeing that they were trying to do it right.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. And like how much bravery doing it wrong takes.
Yeah.
You know, like I want like my hope is that someone will be in the car with this and hear it on like XM or something. And like their wife will look at them and be like, we should make a dildo tonight. You know? Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Totally.
Maybe, or like someone will help get out of a fight. Like I've had a lot of comedy club people be like, I don't know, man. I don't know if it works here because it's a little out there. And I'm like, all right, well, let's see after the show. And
Everyone's
like
married.
couples come up to me and talk to me about it. And like, it's funny.
Well, because I think that like there's so many traps in a heterosexual relationship too, of just like the way you're supposed to be, like the friendship in a couple, which is like where so much of intimacy comes from, is just not valued.
Yeah.
And I think you can only really like explore a lot of those places where you're like, oh, there's going to be like weirdness here and failure if you implicitly trust each other, which is where like friendship comes from. Right. And God, I mean, how many couples do you see where you're like, do you guys even like each other?
Right.
And it bums me out because I'm always like, do you have to like this person?
I mean, honestly, the times that we've talked the most about like divorce and stuff were the times where we realized like, if we're fighting this much, I don't want to lose my best friend. Yeah. And like, it's very weird to come from a perspective where it's not like, fuck you, I'm out. It's like, fuck you, I want to stay. And I don't know if I could do that by staying here. Yeah. And like, I think one of the things that I've done is like being in the relationship your entire life, like through childhood, through your 20s, through your 30s, now in my 40s. Mm-hmm. I want to figure out, the thing that inspires me to still write about relationships is like, I think that there isn't enough. First off, most comics don't have long-term relationships. There's not a lot of material about it.
Or there's like a silent wife.
Yeah.
Oh man, the comics love a silent wife.
She doesn't have a voice.
No.
And like mine is a voice on here, and usually it's yelling at me. But like, there's a very clear perspective, and there's like she's sharing astrology with me, and she's listening. She heard me say I want it to be more interesting, and made it interesting in a way that horrified me. That stuff, she is into true crime, and I'm not. So what can I take away from true crime and find interesting? And now I have this long bit about Ted Bundy.
Yeah, and it's great. Well, and you guys have always been so fun of like, you're both artistic. Emily is an amazing artist and a tattoo artist. And she designed your cover in watercolor.
She painted the whole thing. It was insane.
It's really awesome to see her getting into like traditional, like watercolor and stuff too, or at least showing it. I don't know how much she's been doing it privately.
She's done it for years and never really like put it out there. Yeah. That was like one of the things I wanted her, like she started drawing it on her iPad and I was like, I don't, like I'll pay you, but like, can you paint it? Because I want the first reflection that people see of this record to be her art. Yeah. And like we've been together for 20 years. We're poly now, but we're like closed. We have a girlfriend, Allison, who's Allison Rose, incredible comic.
Yeah, great comic.
And we've been with her for a long time. She took the photo that was used as the art reference for it. And
it's a family affair.
Yeah, I like that the first thing that people see if they see a visual copy of it, or they're going through Spotify and see the art and are curious about the weird long-haired guy who's smiling, holding a knife around flowers. Yeah. I like that it's a collection of how people who love me see me and not how I see me.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and it's like, I don't know, you guys are both artists and it's fun to see an artist relationship. Like I have a very specific memory, and I don't think I've ever told you this, but like at Fest a few years ago, I don't know which one, but Emily came out for it. She was there for the week. And it's whenever we were staying with the house that had Anya. Anya was with us. And you were shooting Anya, and John is also an amazing photographer. You take great photos. Love your photos. And I just have like this memory of like you were going through your photos on Lightbox or whatever you use to edit them, and Emily was just like looking over them, and you guys were having a very serious conversation about how things looked, and it was just this like I was like, man, look at both of them. That's like a couple that's been together for a real long time, and they just really appreciate and respect each other's art, and in multiple ways. And it just was really, I don't know. It was just like it like made me very happy to see. I always think of that when I think of you guys. Yeah.
There's a recurring theme through the record about me going to therapy, and that is entirely something that happens because of her.
Yeah.
And like I'm very prideful. I'm very proud of the things that I've accomplished by myself. I used to have a crippling cocaine addiction. I got it through. I clipped that by myself. Like I just went cold turkey. Yeah. Got off of it. Like I've done a lot of things in my life that I'm really proud of. And one of the hardest things I've ever had to do was be like, shit, I'm in my head alone all the time.
Yeah.
I've worked from home for 10 years alone. I need to talk to someone I'm not in love with about my problems.
Yeah.
Because if I think one of the things one of the things in long-term relationships that like destroys it is you're like, this person's my everything, and they cannot be.
They can't be.
It's brutal to make someone your everything and make them fix all of your problems.
Well, and it's also like, I've had this in long-term relationships before too, where it's like, I'll realize I'm like, we haven't been fun together because we're just talking about hard shit all the time. You need to talk to somebody else about this so you can remember that I'm fun.
Yeah.
I don't get to just joke around with you because I'm doing, and I struggle with the term emotional labor sometimes because I'm also like, can we not, I know when it's real, but I also think that like it's overused. We owe it to our friends and our loved ones to also like shoulder some of the burden and listen, because that's part of what friendship is.
Yeah.
You know,
it's learning to have someone say, you're hiding without the defensive. You can't tell the person you love they're hiding.
Yes.
You know, there's the oldest joke on this record is about a little kid getting his face painted. It was the first closer I ever wrote. Like it's a 12-year-old joke.
That's a great joke. Yeah.
I love it so much. It is the sweetest thing I think I've ever written. And like I hadn't done it until this tour where I was getting ready for it. And I was thinking about something that my therapist had said, where he was like, talk about your trauma. And I would always talk about something I experienced as a social worker. Yeah. Where I was like, this thing that I saw really haunts me. And he's like, but that didn't happen to you.
It's not yours. Yeah.
And it's this element of like deflection and like learning. Had to learn this thing called regulation. Yeah. Yeah. And regulation is accepting that what's happening in the moment isn't, like, what you're feeling in the moment isn't happening in the moment. It's something that happened in the past. And I would always pull these stories from the past and be like, look at these things that other people did, not me. I'm sweet and good. Yes. And it was, at some point, my therapist was just like, well, that's deflecting. You have to actually address your own shit. And like, I don't know. It's funny because I'm like, I think that this is the healthy aspect of this. It's a dick joke album a lot of the time. But like, I did try to like put this through line through it where like, I want there to be something positive in my art. And I think that's because so much of my life has been defined by beautiful, cancerously destructive art. Yes. Where like one of the hardest things I've ever done in my marriage was realize there are bands I can't play for my wife anymore because of the way I used to play them at her without realizing I was.
Oh yeah.
Like, I tweeted something the other day that was genuinely just a revelation. My wife's favorite band is someone else covering the Replacements. And like, it was because when I would play the Replacements, it was, I've had a shitty day, and she learned to hear that music. She would just hear the guitar tone and be like, well, I'm in a bad mood. I have to worry about, how he's going to be. And like, those are moments of revelation where you like think about all the stuff you want to share that you can't share because you shared it in a way where you didn't think about how you were sharing it. Yeah. And like, when I was putting all these jokes together, I wanted them to all be things where no one would play them at someone.
Yeah, no, totally.
I learned about a thing called regulation. Again, it's the idea there's not necessarily something that's happening right now that you're responding to. Your brain is responding to trauma from the past. And I was talking to this therapist, and he was like, do you have a memory like that? And I was like, well, not personally, but one time I got to see a kid get his face painted, and he went, what are you talking about? So here's the story. I used to be a social worker. I was handing out information at a free country fair one day, and I was situated between free horseback riding and free face painting. I don't know if anyone grew up poor, but if you go to a free public event and there is free horseback riding or free face painting, you have stumbled into fucking Narnia, okay? That never happens. There is not free horseback riding for poor children today. That doesn't happen. That's Reagan's America. I'm just kidding. You know, the America he was destroying. Anyway, that's... So I'm sitting there, and what you got is this long-ass line for face painting and horseback riding. Parents are standing in line for their kids in the horseback line while the kids get in line for the face painting. I watched this little kid, 5 years old, just so excited. He was just like, oh, man, can't wait to get my face painted, ride a horse, yeah. And he got to the front of the line, and he was like, can you guys paint me to look like Spider-Man? And unfortunately, they had hired the local ROTC of a rural high school to do the face painting. They didn't know what the fuck Spider-Man looked like, okay? But what they did was lie to that boy and say, yeah, we can do that. Yeah. So here's what they did. They painted his face bright red. It's a very good start for Spider-Man. Then they put big black circles over his eyes. Again, very good start for Spider-Man. Then they put a big black circle over his lips. Then, instead of doing the lines all crisscross applesauce, they just put little black polka dots all over his face. At this point, the little boy looks nothing like Spider-Man. He looks like a strawberry in blackface, okay? Like, just a very racist fruit salad, all right? And the kids doing the painting know what they've done. They're like, you should go, get out of here. And the kid doesn't know what's happened to him. He's just imagining himself as Spider-Man on horseback, just shooting webs on evildoers. He's like, I don't gotta swing today, I'm riding, you know, having a good time. And he's like, can I see what I look like? And they're like, nope, get out. And the little boy is not dumb. He's like, there's a mirror, I should be able to see. He's like, can I please see? And they're like, get out, you know. And the kid kind of turns into the Joker from the 80s Batman for a minute. He's like, give me the mirror, you know. So they give the little boy the mirror and he holds it up to his face. And the little boy goes, oh no. And that's when his mom from the other line went, honey, it's your turn to ride the horsey. And that little boy had whatever a 5-year-old's panic attack looks like, okay? He just starts shaking like, you know? He looks at the kids who did the face painting like, you don't know what Spider-Man looks like? But he doesn't have the words to say that, you know? And he looks at his mom, he's like, how could you let them touch me? But he doesn't have the words to say that. So what the little boy says instead is, the horse can't see me like this! And then he hid under a cop car for 2 hours, yeah. And I told that story to a therapist. I was like, you mean like that? And he went, no, that's called deflection. That's someone else's memory. It's like, fuck. And he's like, what about you? What is it? Dig deep. And I want to be clear, I don't have a lot of traumatic memories. I've had some shit happen in my life when I was a little kid, sorry. When I was a little cool. When I was, it actually ties in. When I was a little kid, something dark did happen. The lifeguard at the neighborhood pool tried to molest me. It didn't happen. He didn't succeed. It was close. Because every time I tried to get away, he'd be like, no running. Okay. If you don't like that joke, I'm the victim. Go fuck yourself. And, yeah.
You know what's funny? That little kid joke reminds me of one time I was at the fair, and my little kid fair story, different, but I think of this kid often. She was like walking around, and it was the end of the day at like the LA County Fair, and she had ice cream all over her face, and she was walking kind of behind her parents, and she saw this ice cream cutout that you could put your face in. And then I'm the only person I think that saw this happen.
Right.
She walked over to the ice cream, put her head in it, and then went, I'm the ice cream now. And then she just laughed like a little demon. And then she just trotted away to her parents. And I was like, oh no. I saw just like the birth of a villain in front of me.
That's, man.
It was adorable.
And that's like, one of the things I don't like about modern society, if I get negative for a second, is this idea, like, I think the worst thing that MAGA did to America is make it so everyone's terrified of you talking to their kids.
Yes.
And like,
bummer.
This is, whenever you look at people talk about like the glory days of America, outside of the racism they never want to address is that they miss, there's community. Yeah. And like, yes. I think that like, I've realized at 40, you know, biologically, I'm probably not going to have a kid. If I ever make enough money, I want to adopt maybe, like, you know, I love being around children. I love my nephews. I love all of my friends who have kids, and I love being part of their family. We've got friends in Northern California who live like off the grid on a farm who have like 5 kids, and like 3 times a year I go up and the first thing they ask is, did you bring the giant donut? Because I always bring a giant donut on the way. I like those interactions.
Yeah.
I like when I come back and those kids have memories of me and I can tell them funny stories or show them like Polaroids and teach them about photography and stuff. And I think a lot of people think about the life that they don't have and they don't think about the life that they could have.
Absolutely.
You know?
That's very real. Well, and it's also like, you always hear the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child. And it's like, you are part of the village.
Yeah.
Part of the village and a lot of kids. And I like I'm the exact same way. I love just being like, because I liked my parents' friends when I was a kid. Because it also gives you insight into your parents that you wouldn't kind of get otherwise. You're like, oh, you're friends with John Michael? You guys are friends? Oh, my dad might be cooler than I thought they were.
Yeah.
So like you even just showing up, my dad's friend shows up with a giant donut. That my dad is cool because that's my dad's friend. It's like through that, so you get to get them closer.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of beautiful.
Like there's a phrase I use in it where it's like, if I'm not going to be a father, I could be the world's uncle.
Yes.
And like that, it's like a kind of like on the album, it's a nothing joke. And in reality, I feel like it's kind of like the thesis statement of why I'm happy now.
Yes.
Is like, I spent a lot of time depressed and I spent a lot of time being on the precipice of like knowing I could make more money by being an asshole comedian.
Yes. Yeah.
Like if I just embrace all of my darkest instincts, I could make exponentially more money.
Yeah.
But also like on the flip side of that, like I think about the people in the audience who are looking for someone who they relate to.
Yeah.
I think about the people who don't have kids who think that means that their marriage is invalid, or the people, man, so many people get divorced because they're not going to have a kid. And they're like, well, what am I fucking working towards? And it's like the moment, this, and the fact that someone will be with you until the light leaves their eyes. That's the thing that you're working towards.
Yeah.
And like, you don't have to define yourself in these traditional ways, specifically as like the traditional structures of society collapse.
Oh yeah,
You know?
and those structures exist just to oppress you and make you part of the fucking greedy maw of capitalism.
Yeah.
Like society doesn't have your best. It doesn't have your best in its intentions at all.
Well, I think people rob themselves of joy because they're fighting towards a life that they're never going to have.
Yeah.
Instead of just loving the life that they have, you know? And I think that you have to like, I think that if you work in a society where you're trying to constantly figure out how you're aggrieved, which I do. I wake up every day pissed off. I look at Twitter first thing in the morning, know what I'm mad about.
Classic Cancer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm a Cancer Leo cusp, I think. It's awful. And like, you can do that, but it's also going to make you miserable. And like, I like using the voice of anger to talk about joy.
Yeah.
They're tricking people who think they're going to hate me or people who think they're going to agree with me into realizing they don't agree with me and then them still liking me at the end is kind of what I want this to be.
Yes.
But I also just want to like, I like the idea of encouraging people to say yes to adventure that comes in their own life. You know? That record was almost called Top 5 because the last track is about me spending a period of the pandemic running a stepmom porn stars OnlyFans and doing like the texting for it. It's no one famous. You don't know who they are. It's
really
just
fucking wild job though. I can only imagine. And those always crack me up too because it's like they're available 24 hours a day to talk and people think they still really fantasy is a strong it's a strong thing for people. I get it.
And it's like when the opportunity came up, it only came up because I was making fun of them saying they didn't have the bandwidth for it anymore. And they were like, see if you have the bandwidth for it. And I was so good at it until I didn't have the bandwidth for it anymore. Yes. And like, it's funny because like there's 3 responses that people have to that. Yeah. 1, can I see what they look like? No. No. 2, people coming up and being like, I didn't think about it that way. Or 3, the thing that means the most to me is every city that I go to, because I don't do a lot of clubs. I could, but I like touring. I like going to small towns. I like meeting people.
We tour the same way, where it's more interesting, and I think that like I'll take a tiny town in Tennessee over like fucking Nashville any day. Because like when you're competing with 30 other things happening in the same night, you're not special. But if you're the only person that's in town and like you brought the entertainment for the night, people are so stoked to see you.
And you also learn about the like kind of ubiquitousness of human experience.
Yeah.
And like the third response I get is people who do OnlyFans in a small town coming up and being like, "You're the first comic who went up and didn't talk shit about us."
Yes.
And like, yeah,
Yes.
and you know what? There are millions of people on that website, and most of them don't make a ton of money because of how oversaturated it is, and the way that culturally we talk about it, and like the way that men specifically, that bit is targeting people who look like me, who agree, who think they agree with me.
Yeah.
And like, if you look on Instagram, in like any woman who has any form, even if it's like a PG Fansly page, you'll see these comments when they say anything of note and just like OnlyFans detected, opinion invalid. Man.
Oh
and
my
it's,
God, I know.
There's this really, violently anti-sex perspective that's starting to come up, and part of it, part of this new return to traditionalism and traditional masculinity, and why young men are starting to like move to the right a lot of the time, I think, is a reclamation of what they feel is lost power.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, you are robbing yourself of some of the sweetest, kindest people you will ever meet.
Yes.
But also, every woman in your life sees you talk that way.
Yeah. No, every single person that was just like, oh, I thought you were my friend. Okay, got it. Cool. That's the way you think about us.
Yeah.
Bye. Like you're isolating yourself so much.
Yeah.
And you talk that way.
And that's the thing. The story is very much me coming from a place of thinking I'm above it, and then being bludgeoned with humanity.
Well, and it's always so funny. Like, I always think it's funny when comics like have jokes like shitting on OnlyFans, because I'm like,
that's what we do.
it's literally what we do.
Yeah.
Like we do the exact same thing. We just have not been able to monetize it in the same way, dude.
Absolutely. Like, comics are just pissed we can't sell 5-minute clips of ourselves verbally masturbating. You know, like
fully.
That's and you see people who are like, I could never do something like that. I'm like, really? There's nothing humiliating about paying $5 to do an open mic in front of people who hate you?
Yeah,
like
that part.
Like, you're paying house fees just like a dancer does, buddy. Like
100%. I'm like, dude, I've done some podcasts in some gnarly places. Like that is, oh boy, yeah.
That's one of my favorite things about living in LA is meeting adult performers.
Yes.
And them being like, look, my industry's fucked, but like, you guys really need to have some self-respect.
Yes. Oh my God. Explaining comedy to literally anybody else outside of it is like, wait, so you just opted in for an abusive industry? And I'm like, I'm trying not to.
Right.
I'm trying not to over here.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's the whole point of the label is trying to like give people some dignity.
Right. Well, that's the thing is like, we're recording this like right after the hurricane came and hit Appalachia really hard.
Yeah.
And like one of the things that like really struck me about it is like, people are like, oh, I didn't know about that town. And every small town that I keep hearing about is a place that I've done.
Yeah, that I know.
Where I'm like, I started weeping seeing some of the pictures, because I'm like, oh, I had lunch there. I have friends who live there, especially like Asheville, but Tennessee and Georgia are some of the places that have been hit really brutally, where they weren't expecting it. And it's interesting is like, it's sad to me, but I'm so thankful for the sadness, because this kind of like, this way that does not serve me monetarily necessarily, that I like, that you and I like to tour sometimes, is like, you and I have figured out ways to have side jobs that we can travel with, so that we have the freedom to go places that don't make sense and find out what comedy is like there, and find out what laughter is like there, and find out culturally what people are like there, and like some of the best meals of my entire life in a place that no one will ever see.
No, exactly.
Like the number of times I've pulled a Yui in like strange, poorly designed southern towns, because I saw what I thought was a closed building, and then a guy with an apron walked out and started smoking a cigarette. I was like, I bet whatever is there is amazing.
Gotta go. Yeah.
I had the best barbecue of my life.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and it's like,
you gotta look for joy.
You absolutely do. And it's like, when people take shit so seriously, I'm always just like, do you understand that you're just a collection of cells and like a ball in a universe? And like, what are we if we aren't our experiences, And I want to experience everything, not just the things that are like dictated for me by society for like what I'm supposed to experience. Why? I'm explorer. I genuinely identify more with like explorers often, because like sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I have a set tonight, but I mostly am just excited about like the things that I'm experiencing. On the road.
It's one of the things I think is kind of beautiful about Don't Tell, is like how many comics who only work clubs now get to know what it's like to do a weird show in a pet shop. Yes. And you're like, oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's so fun. And the people that come out to that, and it's just like, it's connecting, I mean, it's like, obviously I wish that, everyone could make like a full living off of the thing that they love. But there is sometimes a stand up where I go, you know what? I'm just like telling funny stories to people that I'm meeting along the way. And I make some money doing that. And that's pretty great. And, that's great. It's just a fun, it's connecting.
One of the greatest country singers of all time is a guy named Blaze Foley, and no one knew him until he was dead.
Yes.
And like, if no one knows me until I'm dead, you didn't do a good job promoting this album. But
Yes. And that's very fair. That's very fair. That's very fair. We're going to have you on life support until this gets a write-up.
But like, I think that's one of the things that like is the dissatisfaction that comes with art.
Yeah.
And why like so many of the biggest YouTubers right now are just bitching about Star Wars is because you can make money hating shit so much, man.
Easily.
But like, when I think about like the bullshit with the uncle, like on one hand, it's a cheap joke because I feel like there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm uncle coded. But it's like, I think if you think about what an uncle is it's like, an uncle is someone else's family.
Yeah.
Like when you're a kid, your uncle is someone else's family.
Yeah.
And you're told this person is my brother, therefore they are your uncle. And they have to if you're introduced as a little kid, you understand that that's something that's kind of beautiful, but you only see them every now and then. Uncles, to a certain degree, even if you don't have family, like this is just a Southern thing, but like, when in my church, I had like my Uncle Johnny, I had my Aunt Judy, I have, there's all these people that are non-blood uncles and non-blood aunts, but they are accepted chosen family. And I think one of the reasons people culturally choose those words is because whether they mean to or not, is there is kind of a hierarchy of family.
Yeah.
But also there is an acceptance of when you say that it means family.
Yes.
And like, if you've got a cousin who's 20 years older than you, we don't call them your cousin. We say they're your uncle because we want to give that sense of authority. We want to give that sense of perspective and like a kind of sense of honor to that. And I think that like, especially if you were like, if you were someone who has been fucked by this economy, if you're someone who did everything right, who didn't get to do these milestones because you did everything right and then the right way changed.
Yeah.
It's really easy to let go. It's really easy to say, I'm now aggrieved. I'm going to fight everything that hurts me.
Yes.
Or you can be like, my life experience is valid and I should share it.
Yeah.
I want to be the thing that like sees people and like, I want to be the person where like I show up and people know that their kids are safe around.
Yeah.
I want to be the person that people show up at a party and they're like, oh yeah, that guy brought some beers and waters, like
totally.
I like those elements.
Totally. Well, and can I just say, I'm happy that you called the album Cry Uncle instead of Blood Uncle. That a very different vibe.
Yeah, I should have called it Blood Uncle. That would have been
Blood
so much
Uncle.
more intense.
We'll throw a different filter on the whole thing, and we'll just put it through like a hardcore Cookie Monster voice, and we'll just put it Blood Uncle. Have you sent a copy to your therapist yet, or are you going to be like Bandcamp, bitch, buy it? You owe me. Then you write me an evaluation after you've listened.
I did send a copy to my therapist, and she was like, this is really good. How much of this do you want to talk about? I was like, I've worked through most of this. She's like, thank God.
Yeah. Don't worry. This is work that's been done, but just to give you a light base.
Yeah. It's funny because I now have a normal one. A lot of the therapy I did for this was like, I would use credit cards and go on different like versions of BetterHealth. I say just BetterHealth on the record. I cut it out of the video, but I use it as a catch-all. But like all of these like pop-up psychiatry things have happened, and during the pandemic I couldn't find anyone to talk to. So what I did was I would just use credit cards to do intakes and then just never sign up. So there's a lot of people sold my information, but I would just be like, all right, well, what I want to talk to is manic depression. What I want to talk to is regulation. What I want to talk about it. And eventually I pieced these things together. And I was thinking about that, and I was just like, my mental health was treated like a stand-up album where I was like, all right, I got 1 hour to work through this track.
Exactly. I'm going to get the light at 55 minutes and I got to get out. I also love that you did it the way that you YouTube how to fix a dishwasher. That's how you fixed your brain. Dude, it's great.
You got to reach out for help. And,
you do. Absolutely.
If you don't have the money to do it, you got to reach out and grab whatever is there. And in this case, the incredibly predatory mental health industry was very useful to me.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. No, everyone should do whatever you have to do to find your peace.
Remember, there's no crime in lying to a corporation unless they get caught and you talk about it on a podcast.
Hell yeah. Don't worry. This is all fake. We're a parody. This is the parody section of the podcast. It's fine. Well, the album is called Cry Uncle, and it's available right now for pre-sale. It's everywhere on October 18th. And where can people find you?
You could find me on Twitter at John Bond. I'm on TikTok at John Michael Bond. I'm about to start doing a lot of promo for this, which will be great because I have no followers on there.
Woo.
I have one of the best thing I did for my mental health was be really bad at social media.
Good.
The worst thing I did for promoting this is be really bad at social media. So it'll be really interesting.
I mean, whatever.
And I'm on Instagram at John Michael's Mistakes. If you want to see my photography, a lot of that stuff is on there. The video of it will be on 4x3 sometime in November. But buy it here because all the money will go to a really good uncle. And
give money to a good uncle, guys. You can buy it on iTunes. You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it on Bandcamp. The link will be on our Instagram, Burn This Records Instagram. It'll be in John's stuff. It'll be at burnthisrecords.com. It'll be in this episode's description. You have zero reason to not go ahead and just pre-order your copy right now.
Also, if you pre-order it and message me or with proof that you pre-ordered it, I will send you an envelope with some photos in it. I'm a really good photographer. I take really beautiful prints of the things that I see on the road. And if you pre-order it, I will happily send you out an envelope of surprise photographs from the journey that helped this shit get made.
That in itself is worth it because that is...
I usually charge a lot of money for them.
No, yeah. No, for real. Like John also takes like really gorgeous photos. Like, please do follow him there. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you on the next release. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.